questions, or midterm questions. So first question was 4 dots. I hope everybody attempted it at least once because it was the first question, and I mean, Eric, according to Eric, it was the easiest one for him. So let me open up the question I've closed. Let's see. So this question required you to have the number of cows, and then so I'll type in the sample input in the console just so you guys can see it. If my computer will load, please load. All right, thank you. All right, so it's not taking anything. Whoops, sorry, whatever. So the first input should have been the number of cows, and then the second and the third and whatever the next inputs are all the following cow positions. So, first and foremost, we need to take input and set it to a variable. So we're gonna say num ox because this is the number of oxen. So we're gonna set input. So what that does is takes the input. So we're just gonna see if it works by printing num ox, and then we're gonna run the program. And then, this being glitchy. And then if we put 6, which was a sample test case, it prints out 6 again. So that works. So we just took the number of cows or number of oxen, and we basically want to, at this point, what our goal is to find the largest gap between any 2 oxen, right? So how will we do that? So I think the best way to do this is by using a for loop. So we're going to call it for loop. So we're going to call for loop for I. It could be anything in range. And I'll go from 0 to num ox. So this is gonna run 6 times, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the sample test case. So hopefully everybody understands it up till now. And Eric, can you check the chat for any questions? Because we're actually...
He said he had to go because he had a lesson, but he'll watch the video.
All right. Yeah, so there's that. And then basically from here we're gonna take another input, right? So every time we, I guess, iterate through the loop, we're going to take another input. So let's go ahead and make another variable, globalize it. We're going to name it, let's see, pose. So it's going to stand for the position of the oxen that we're currently on in our for loop. And we're going to do input, or my bad, pose equals input. So as you can see in the sample input, if you guys have that opened up right now, every time, so it's going to be like 6, 1, 3, and whatever. So the 1 and the 3, these are all going to be set to pose every time we loop. And again, this takes 6 inputs to the for loop. And we're not even going to try to store it. We're going to process it right away. So we're actually going to make so how do you calculate distance? You calculate distance by taking the current position and subtracting it from the, with the, I guess, the previous position. So we're going to make another variable for previous position, which I'm just going to name prev. And then again, we have our current position, and the reason why I set it to 0 is because it's a straight x-axis, and you start at 0. So, and then we're also going to create a variable called gap, which is going to be the gap, the distance between the 2 oxen. And then I guess we should also create a variable called max gap, which is going to be eventually what we print out, which is the maximum distance of the gap. All right, and then after we take our input and then store it into the current position, right, we're gonna probably want to calculate the gap, the distance, and then after we calculate the gap, we're gonna compare it to the maximum gap and see which one's larger. And then if the current gap is larger than the maximum gap, we're gonna replace max gap with the current gap, so it becomes the max gap. So how are we going to calculate the gap? Well, we took the position, so we're gonna I guess set gap equal to pose minus prev. So what this does is it sets gap equal to whatever our position is minus the previous I guess number position. And then after this, we actually want to change the previous variable equal to the current position, because that means the next iteration, the previous position will actually be set to whatever position you were on the loop before that. So hopefully you guys are understanding so far. And then we're gonna put a conditional, right? Because we want to check if this gap variable on line 8 is larger than max gap, right? So we're gonna set a conditional if gap larger than max gap. And then, so let's say if the gap that we just calculated happens to be larger than max gap, then the current gap becomes what max gap is, right? And then think about it, right? This loop is gonna run every single time we have an input. So again, it's gonna take the input, calculate the gap between that current input and then the previous input, and then set the previous position set to the current position, so that in the next loop it'll become the previous position. And then you check if the gap is larger than the maximum gap, and then you set, and if that's true, then you set max gap or gap equal to max gap. And at the end of this program, it's gonna go ahead and print max gap because we want to get the maximum gap. And I think that should be it. Again, it could be wrong. Most of the times I do these questions, I get it wrong on the first try, but we'll see if I get this right. So we're gonna run it with our sample test case, which is given right here. And it's gonna give us an error. Let's see. Oh, right, string object cannot be interpreted as an integer. So again, when we take an input, right, it takes it in as a string. So in order to fix this, we're just gonna typecast it into an integer so we can actually use it in the range function. And again, okay. Oh, we have to also cast this to an integer because, yeah, we're dealing with mostly numbers here. So then once we run this, it prints out 5, which is the correct answer for the first test case. And then we'll try the other test cases. So the second test case was this one, and then the proper answer was 9. And as you can see, it prints out 9. And the third test case should print out 1. And the other one, the last test case, I believe, it was 50 lines long. So we're gonna have 50 accents, pretty long one. So check this out. And that does provide the correct output as 280. So let me explain how this works with the most basic sample input, right? Because I'm sure that explanation was kind of confusing. So let's just run that one. All right. So I'll explain how this works. So first we take in 6, right? Or actually, I guess I can do it step by step to make it less confusing for you guys. So whoever's texting in Discord, can you tell them to stop? It's kind of annoying. So we're gonna the first input's 6, right? So when we enter that becomes numox, right? And then all these are just variable declarations, so none of these actually run. And the reason why it's prompting us is because it entered this loop. So right now we're on the first iteration of this for loop, and this line right now is running, right? Line 7. So this, whatever integer we input here is going to be set to position. So let's input 1. So that means position is 1, right? And then the gap will be equal to 1 minus 0. So the gap becomes 1 because that's like the maximum gap we have so far. And then previous is going to be set to pose. So the previous is now 1 because in the next iteration we're going to compare the distance from that one to 1, right? Not 0. And then we check if gap, which happens to be 1 in this case, is greater than max gap, which is true. So max gap should be equal to 1. But we're not printing this yet because we're still inside this loop. So we're going to put in our next input, which is 3. And in this case, the second iteration, and then we take and pose now becomes 3. Gap is 3 minus prev, which is not 0 because we set it here to 1. So now gap is 2. And then prev, or previous position, is equal to pose. So now the prev is going to be actually set equal to 3. And then we check if gap is greater than max gap. Gap is 2, max gap was 1. And because this is true, we're going to set max gap equal to gap. So now max gap is 2. And in this similar fashion, we're just going to keep running it for all the inputs like this. And then the max gap should be 5. So it prints out 5. So that's how this first program worked in pretty neat 12 lines. It could have been condensed, but can everybody, I want every single person in the call right now to type in the Zoom chat, or not Zoom chat, Google Meet chat, that they got the solution. Because if you guys didn't, I need to explain more. So type yes in the Google Meet chat if you understood it. And I'm not going to move on until everybody else did it. So All right, we got 3 people so far. We need 3 more people. It's all right, Sir Raj. The directions are kind of confusing. All right, and Tyler, did you understand? Tyler, he did the thing, so I don't really need to. Yeah, Tyler did this one correctly, so I guess we don't need to wait for him. So we're gonna move on to the next one. Why does this keep popping up? So we're gonna, I guess, whatever. I'll just delete this and start a new one. So yeah, 6 is not a fixed number of oxygen. It was a flexible input. So at least now you understand, right? So the next question was COVID. So in this one, we take an input of number of cows. So we're gonna, similar to the last one, we're gonna set a variable num cow equal to an input variable. And then we're just gonna go right with the for. So for I in range 0 to num cow. And then, so again, so this might be a little confusing for some people, because if you look at the question, right? If you look at the question Calvin, it seems like even though the first input's 3, there are 6 lines. Or, wait, no, not. Yeah, there are 6 lines of inputs. So why is that the case? Some of you guys might ask. So what we'll do is actually take 2 inputs, right? So we're gonna actually just go ahead and declare more variables. So I'm not gonna make the same mistake again. Gotta typecast. Why am I typing incursion? It's odd. All right. Well, anyways, I'm not trying to confuse you guys anymore. So we're just gonna make a new variable called I guess mask, which is gonna be set to 0. It doesn't really matter. And then we're gonna start read equal to read. And again, this doesn't matter. This is just the initialization. So for I in range, so every time we run the for loop, we want to actually take 2 inputs, which is if the cow has a mask on or not, and if the cow is breed. So the first input is going to be mask. To be honest, we didn't even have to declare it at top here, but for organization purposes, I just did it. So we're going to set mask equal to the next input. And we can actually put in as a string here because it doesn't really matter. So, and then the next line will be breed equals same thing input. And I did not add parentheses here. So basically, mask and breed. So every time you run this program, it's going to take in 2. So every iteration of this for loop, you're going to take in 2. So that's why it suffices for the 6 lines of input instead of 3. And then after we put this on, right, it's going to be relatively easy from here on out. So we're going to actually just make a variable called safe. And this represents the number of safe cows, right? And when is a cow safe? It's either when, actually, let me ask you guys a question. When is a cow not contagious in the COVID problem? Somebody tell me in the chat, please. When is a cow not contagious in the COVID problem? There are 2 cases in which a cow is not contagious. Right. Wait. No. That's contagious. Carrying cow with no mask is the only contagious case. So, safe cows. Yeah, not contagious, right. Yeah, if it's a MAC cow and there's one more case. Right, carrying with mask, right. So, if the cow has a mask, right, it could be a MAC cow and it has a mask, and, that's just double safe. It's still thing as safe. It's not like a double negative here. So again, the 2 cases in which a cow is safe is if the cow has a mask on or if it's a MAC cow breed. So, this triggers me. I can add a little extra space. Oh, there you go. And then, so now we're going to actually make a conditional, right? And then we're going to use actually an OR operator that we learned about. So we're going to do if mask equals, and then we have to put quotes here because we took the input as a string. If you didn't want to put the quotes here, you can just typecast it into an integer, but it's so easy to do that, so I'm just going to use quotes. If mask equals 1, which means that the cow has a mask on, right? Or, my bad, that's a Java one. Or breed equals MAC cow, right? So this is saying if the cow has a mask on, or if the breed of the cow happens to be mad cow, then we're just gonna add 1 to the safe value, which means that there's 1 safe cow. And again, this happens every single time, or every time we enter 2 inputs, which, or not this case, but yeah, it happens every 2 inputs. So the first one's gonna be if the cow's a mask on or not, and the second one's gonna be the breed. And then this just denotes this conditional just checks if the cow's safe or not. And then after we check if they're safe or not, we're just gonna add 1 to the safe variable. And then after that, all we have to do is just make another conditional, right? So after, again, this is out of the for loop, so it's after all this runs, right? Like, it's after all of it runs. It's gonna make some spaces to make it look better. And then we're gonna say if in the condition for checking if it's safe or not was that if at least 50% of the cows were safe, right? So we're gonna say if safe is greater than or equal to I guess num cow divided by 2. And the reason why we're doing num cow divided by 2 is because, again, num cow is the number of cows at safe direction, and that divided by 2 is half the cows. That's saying if the number of safe cows is greater than or equal to half the cows, which means it's the majority, then we just print safe. And then, of course, if it's not that, which means that it's not safe, we're just going to print not safe. So I think that should work, hopefully. Copy and paste some test cases. Let me find them. This is our first test case. Yeah, print safe, and that is the correct output. So let me explain how this works with the test case now. So line 1 takes in the integer input. So it takes this one, right? So let me run it again. So it takes 4. That's the number of cows. And then this loop starts running, right? So it's going to run 4 times, and it's going to take the mask input, right? So we're going to put 0 because they're not wearing a mask. And then we're going to take a breed input. So breed happens to be carrot in this case. And then it's going to check, right? Is the mask equal to 1? No. Is the breed equal to mad cow? No. So that cow is not safe. So it's not going to add 1 to the safe variable. And the loop runs again, right? So this time it's going to be another 0 and a carrot. Same thing, right? If is a cow not? Is a cow equal to 1? No. Is a breed mad cow? No. So it's not going to add anything to safe. So safe is still 0 at this point. But the next input happens to be 1 and then carrot, right? In this case, we check, right? Is a mask 1? Yes. So we just completely disregard this OR, because for the OR to be, return true, any of these 2 conditions can be true, and this whole thing is true, right? So mask equals 1 is true, and even though the breed is not mad cow, because we're using an OR operand instead of an AND, this whole thing is true. So we're actually just going to add 1 to safe, right? And it makes sense that a carrying cow with the mask on is not contagious. And then the next one is 0 and mad cow. And then the mask is not 1, so the mad cow is not wearing a mask. But the breed is a mad cow breed, so again, only one of these has to be true in order for this whole thing to be true. And because the breed is a mad cow breed and the mad cow cows are not contagious, this whole thing evaluates to true, and safe plus 1. And now we have, safe is actually equal to 2, and then the total number of cows is 4, right? And again, it's 50% or greater, so it's safe, which is 2. Greater than or equal to num divided by 2, which is 2. Is 2 greater than or equal to 2? Yes. So we print safe. Let me check if it works for all the other sample inputs. Yep, that works. And these are the inputs that we use to test your replets. And yeah, and we checked if these inputs are correct or not. Eric manually went ahead and checked every single one, so these are correct inputs. And that prints safe, which is correct, and I believe this should be the last one. Oh wait, there's more. Oops. Second to last one, I think. This should print safe, it does. And then the final input, with 11 cows, should print not safe. Let's run that. And not safe. So that works. So once again, if people understood that, can everybody type in the chat? Yes, if you guys understood it. And if not, please ask questions. We're waiting for 2 more people. I guess we'll disregard Tyler because he got this one right, but yeah. Who did not say yes? Is that everybody? Am I miscounting something? Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Emil left.
Well, yeah, I know Emil left, but there are currently 6 people, right? And yeah, 4 people. But yes, who didn't say yes? Wait, Andrew? I think it's Andrew. Andrew, do you get this? Maybe he's AFK. Okay, he does. Okay. We're gonna move on. So this last one, the most interesting, the fun one, which is gonna be Moscow, not Moscow. So this question was a little difficult. So again, hopefully everybody understood the question, right? I'm not gonna repeat the question. But basically, you're supposed to extract the raw password from the salt or raw encrypted password from the password salt, and then decrypt that password using a Caesar cipher. So, there are multiple ways to do it, but the way I did it, and the way it's probably easier for you guys is to make a dictionary. So I'm not gonna actually make a manual dictionary because that's gonna take way too long. So I'm gonna just copy paste from one of my earlier samples. If Replit will load, that is. And you can do this one in 8 lines. It's that simple. 8 lines. Let's give it a second. So this is a Caesar cipher dictionary that I made. I'm just going to copy that one because I'm not about to rewrite all that. So again, this is a Caesar cipher dictionary, right? So if the thing in the password, the encrypted password was A, it's actually Z in the real password, right? So hopefully you guys understand what a dictionary is. It's literally just a dictionary. So we're gonna actually just continue. And by the way, you can put all this in one line. If you guys just remove the new line characters and all this, you can put this in one line. So this technically is just one line, but I made it stretch out so it's easier to view. So from here, obviously you want to take the input. So we're gonna say encrypted password equals input. So this takes the input, which is just one line, so no for loops are needed here. That takes one input, which is gonna be the weird, encrypted password. And extracting the salt's really easy. So it's given the problem that the password salt is gonna be a length of 4, right? So there's gonna be 4 useless characters in the front and 4 useless characters in the back. So how do we get rid of that? Well, remember how I told you guys you can actually call indices on strings too, right? So basically what I did was encrypted password equals, and then I'm just going to do this again. And it's going to be similar to a list. So we're going to call this thing the index value, but we're going to do it in range. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So we're going to go from 4 to -4. And the reason why it's -4 is because it's from the back, right? So again, I'm going to copy paste the sample input from here. So that was the sample input. And if we start at 4, then this is 0, 1, 2, 3. So we start at D, which is true because this part is useless. So we remove that with the first value of the I guess in this index range, and then this -4. So this is -1, this is -2, this is -3, this is -4, right? And then we're gonna go all the way up till there. So we're gonna remove that, and we're just left with DPX, which is the thing that we want, right? So now that we're left with just DPX, what do? We just want to pass through the Caesar cipher, right? So actually, this is the part where we're gonna actually use for loop. So we're gonna do I guess do we use a for loop? I think so. Yeah, we're gonna do for I in, and this time we're not gonna use a range. We're just gonna use the encrypted password. Or it's not really encrypted anymore, but I guess just to make it convenient for you guys, I'll just do this. So I just made a new variable and passed that in there. So I'm just gonna make a raw password. So the raw password in this case is DPX, right? And then for I and raw password. So this is gonna go through every single character of DPX. It's gonna go to DPX, and what it's gonna do is let's make a list here. So I'm gonna name the list PW for password and a new list declaration. And for each iteration, we're gonna let's see, pw.append. So this adds a thing to the list. And what we're gonna append is a Caesar cipher dictionary value of whatever I is, right? I think. So if you look here, what that does, we look at D, right? That's the first iteration. So we look at D. D is C, as you can see in this thing. So D becomes C. So we put C in PW, and then we check P. What's P in this? O. So we put O in PW, and X is W. So we put W in PW. So now we have, now the list PW is going to be COW. Now that we have that, you might think, why we can just go ahead and print PW, right? I mean, technically it works. That wasn't the format that we requested. So copy paste the sample input. So as you can see, it works. It prints cow, but that's not the thing we want. We want it to just print, cow like that, right? So the hint that I provided is pretty useful. So the hint, we're just gonna iterate through that list. So for I in the PW, because we're gonna go through every value of PW, and then we're just gonna print that. Let's see what happens if you just print I, right? It does, oh, oops, that's not supposed to be there. So it just prints these on separate lines, which we don't want. We want it all to be in one line. So in order to do that, I provided you guys a hint. So use this n equals, then the two things, and that should decrypt the password. And you could have done all that in about like 8 lines. Again, this is one line, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let me just check if that passes all the test cases. I'll run this one again, and this one should print Python. Cool. This one should print code. Cool. And this one, Eric, why'd you do zebra? This one print zebra. All right. Interesting test case. Oh, it's because of Z, right? All right.
Yeah, because of Z.
Yeah, as far as we know, nobody was able to do this last question. So I think, right? Eric, can you confirm that?
No one was able to.
Yeah, so this question was a little hard. I mean, I understand it could have been time consuming if you had to like manually route the dictionary and stuff, but it was a pretty interesting question, you guys gotta admit. And this is pretty fun. So if everyone understood that, once again, for the final time, can you guys type yes in the chat so I know that you guys got the concept? Thank you, Siraj. It took me a while to come up with it. Thank you, Wasi. Do you get the concept, Wasi? Do you get how I did it? Okay. It's 5. And then I think Tyler's AFK probably, so yeah, I think that's it. So, so yeah, that's it for all of our midterm questions and midterm review. Oh, you're not AFK. Tyler, did you Tyler, did you get how I did this if you were paying attention? Okay, good. So yeah, congrats to all of you guys who were able to do at least one problem. And again, if you guys couldn't do anything, don't be discouraged. Again, this is just a kind of like a where you're at, kind of like a measuring guide thing. So, all the -4 to 4, it's actually 4 -4, but so if you actually go to our slides, I forgot which one it was. Let me check. Where is it? It should be in lists, I think. Let me go here. So if you check out this one. And loops. Hold up. What? No. This one's. Did I get the? Oh, I got the wrong one. All right. There you go. Lists and conditionals. And the computer is slow because I'm, short on RAM right now. But hopefully it'll get better. I have like 3 different IDs open right now, so Yeah. So Raj is right. So I'll just explain how it like actually works. It will load. I really need a MacBook Pro, I swear. I don't know why I'm running with MacBook Air right now. Oh yeah, Siraj, wow, the project. That was like weeks ago. Where is that part? Conditionals. Manipulating lists. I think it was this part. No. Oh yeah, so here. So as you can see here, right? Look, if we did this, my list, then 1 to 4, 1:4, then in this case, shorter list, in this case, we use this example, right? Probe. And then here, if we did 1 to 4, that goes from here all the way to here, right? So that just takes, or here to here, but that -1. So because these range things in Python, it's always starting this one inclusive to the last one exclusive. So you're going to start R and go all the way to B. So R or B, and that's why it's Rob, right? But this format also works for strings. So in my case, in here, encrypted, right? Our test case, let me bring that up again. So our test case was that, right? And as you can see here, after we take out, we need to take out these. So how we take these out, right? So we call 4 on this, and think of this as a list, right? So what's the 4th index value of this string? So it's gonna be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're gonna actually start at D. So we're gonna so we're basically isolating that value away from it. So we're gonna start at D. And then in the end, we're going to cut the end. It's like cropping an image. So we're going to cut the end, -4, right? So this is -1, -2, -3, -4. So that means we're left with dpx. So Wasi, did you get that? And then after that, you just decipher it using the for loop with the...
I didn't get it that way at first.
Oh, whoops.
I did it really stupidly.
Yeah, Eric, we know. Right, yeah. I'm pretty much trying to just get dpx to decrypt the cow because the password salt, which is the first 4 and the last 4, are kind of useless. So you just take those out. So Wasi, did you get that now? Alright, so that's it for now. And whoops. So okay, guys, again, don't worry if you guys couldn't do any of these. It's alright, just I think this is a good, I guess, wake up slap, I guess, in a way. Like, if you guys couldn't do any of these, please practice and do your work, do your homework, because our homework, oh my goodness, our homework assignments are designed to really get you guys to think and, really have your brains turning. So, again, we have a lot of good things to come in the future. You guys are going to be making, like, Discord bots and, like, really fun stuff that you guys can actually use to, like, have fun in real life. But in order to do that, you guys also actually need to know the basics. It's like math. You can't do calculus without knowing how to divide or multiply. This is like the dividing and multiplying part. So make sure you guys understand all this. And if you guys have a time, please actually reattempt these problems that I went over the solution with you guys. Please reattempt them just to try to really understand the concept. And if you guys ever need any help or have any questions, please contact us, and we're always down to help you. That's what this club is for. And again, thanks for coming, and thanks for really trying out on the midterm. This is our first time, so we didn't really know how it will be, but next time I guess it will be a little easier. And a little outlook for next week. Next week we're gonna start doing functions, as I told you guys, and Eric and I will. If we find out how to, we'll actually get you guys to download Python IDEs. And IDEs are integrated development environment, which basically, let me show you guys. If I can get out of this. It's really cool. Exit full screen. They're kind of like tools that help you code. So like this, right? Oh boy. So yeah, it's kind of like that. So it's like this PyCharm thing. And there's also other ones like IDLE, which is one that Eric uses. I think it works best on Mac. And like if you have new and the file, new file, you can write like a Python script here, and then like it's like replit on your computer, which is pretty cool. I'm not gonna save this because I was stupid. So yeah, that's pretty much what IDEs are. We're gonna get you guys to install all this so you guys can actually run Python on the computer instead of relying on replit and stuff. So that's gonna be fun. And then once you guys get IDEs installed, we're gonna teach you guys how to import stuff and then do a lot of stuff, right? You guys can do pretty much anything you want on Python. You can make graphs, you can automate stuff, you can spam people, and Eric figured out a way to automate like a Google spreadsheet and stuff. So you guys can do so much with Python. We're gonna teach you guys a lot of fun stuff you can do. So tune in next week on weekly intermediate class. And we're actually really close paced with where Advanced at right now. Advanced, they had their midterm last week, so we're actually pretty up to pace with them, which is pretty impressive considering that we're intermediate. So good job. Please review the midterm, and the video will be up probably either tonight or tomorrow. So watch that. And any questions before I dismiss? No questions. All right, well, you guys are free to go now. Thank you for coming, and please come next week to start doing interesting stuff. Please review the basics, by the way. Yep, see ya. See ya.